who am I, right? The I am is defined by you, not defined by a contract created by somebody else, right? And after our certificate of live birth was issued, as the human living being comes into this world, then somebody else initiates a contract through the state, right? A birth certificate.
Okay, that's not a contract. Okay, so yeah.
Well, you're establishing an identity or an entity, right?
No, you're establishing when a person is born as a particular
Well,
date and
that
time.
was already been established. So a redundancy is
How is
not.
it established without the piece of paper? How is it proved without the piece of paper?
You've already proven it with the certificate of live birth that the living human being exists and is in this realm.
Okay, and if that doesn't differ from the birth certificate, what's the significance? Same
The birth
names.
certificate has a CUSIP ID number, a state
Oh, yeah,
recognized number, right?
Right.
Whereas the I'm sorry, the certificate of live birth does not. It establishes the live birth of a living human being,
Okay.
right? And so, and then we have to establish the consent of the governed, and the governed is a citizen, person, or resident, right? Which I don't know that he's.
You have to establish the consent. What do you mean by that?
I'm sorry. Can you say one more
You have
time?
to establish the consent of the governed. What do you mean?
Okay. Well, we have the rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness as long as we don't bump into other people, cause harm or loss, which is a crime, right? When and you know, and I'm sure you know this already, but I'm just going to corpus delicti. All bodies of that crime have to be present for the crime to actually be a crime. Well, when there isn't a living, breathing victim, there isn't a crime. However, if we've consented to being governed when there isn't a crime, we enter the role of a citizen, person, or resident because they're under a legal system, not under a natural law system. A common law system is what the natural human being is.
If there's a victim, then that all falls apart because that's
Exactly. I agree with
There is a
you.
victim
I
here.
absolutely agree. What is the victim?
Victim, Ricky and Ted Small.
Okay, he if I understand the situations correctly, he was instructed to stand where he was standing by a law enforcement officer.
Actual question. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he was well within the legal limitations and regulations.
You're getting ahead of where we're supposed to be. The question is, do we have any jurisdiction over this fellow? Because
When there isn't a crime that has been
if there is a
committed,
crime,
or his consent to being that birth certificate identity. And so the birth certificate identity creates a citizenship. A citizenship is on these maritime admiralty
in your
waters.
position, you're not a U.S. citizen. Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah, I mean, yes.
Well,
birth
you
certificate
have
makes
to.
you a citizen,
That's
so
the
you're
thing is, okay.
valid. You're not a U.S. citizen.
Let me explain one thing. We can hold a citizenship without being a citizen, right?
No.
No. I have held the certification of being a plumber, but I'm not always operating in that capacity.
Sure.
Okay.
License,
And so, right, it was a license. It was a created entity saying me as Robert Leeming is a certified. It was a privilege.
As a licensed plumber. It was
Right.
not. You didn't create anything. You were just given permission to operate as a licensed plumber, like a driver's license, permission to drive on the
Okay.
road.
See, okay, that too though. If we're operating as a driver, you can. It's a privileged privileged practice to drive on the road, right?
Roughly.
Okay. As a traveler, as the human being doing something that looks very similar over a right of way isn't supposed to be regulated because it's a right, right? No, because you have a right.
You're really messing up some terms here, some concepts. You really got things twisted. But go ahead.
Okay. Please, I mean, I really appreciate your time and patience with this.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm curious.
I mean,
I'd like to know more.
No, I've done so much studying, and that's why I am solid in this, and I can maintain my calmness and present awareness. So traveling, and I have 5 pages of long-standing Supreme Court decisions from all over the country that substantiate this. Traveling is a right, not a privilege.
Right.
Okay, so a right cannot be regulated.
Oh, yes,
However,
yes, it can.
however, unless you have created a clear and present danger or a victim, because
the Supreme Court standard for reviewing whether or not you can infringe upon a person's rights, first off, if it's a fundamental right or a suspect class, it's strict scrutiny.
Okay.
In essence, and I'm using this a lot of
I understand.
But the concept there is there a fundamental right? Interstate travel isn't a fundamental right in terms of it's Supreme Court defines it as. But as soon as a fundamental right,
But I have 5 pages.
the question then becomes: is the law necessary to preserve a state interest? Below that is what we call a rational relationship standard. Is there again some right being infringed upon, and is this law going to accomplish that goal without being too broad?
Okay.
So
And without infringing on the human rights. Because that's the thing,
It
is
always
all
infringes upon
law
your
needs to be within the limitations of the Constitution.
a law always infringes upon your rights in some way.
Okay, so then it's not enforceable unless the person has created a victim. Now I understand, like if I'm speeding and it created a victim with my actions, a ticket should be issued because I've created harm or loss or a clear and present danger,
Okay.
right?
If
I
that's the
understand that I
standard,
would
then
fall
that
under.
exactly because you've done something to create a clear and present danger to somebody who's been protected by a law.
But actually, he was operating under
It's a factual question of whether he's operating under that. That's a factual question. The law is you're saying if you're speeding, you create a risk of danger to somebody.
Right.
You violated something that created a risk of danger to 50 and 10. Now the factual
He-
question is, did
right.
you actually do that? But
Okay.
that's the law that would allow the court to move forward.
One of the corpus delicti of that would be intention.
Yeah.
Was his
Corpus
intention?
delicti is was there a crime committed, and is there, in some cases, proof that you committed the crime?
Right. Well, the
You're the
victim
person that
and intention are two of the body parts of that crime.
corpus delicti, corpus delicti means is there proof of the crime? Some will
Right, because of having these body parts present.
No. Corpus delicti means body of the crime,
Okay.
not human body.
I know, but,
So-
but that body of the crime has to have certain things present for it to be that crime.
You have to have something that meets the definition of a crime in the statutes,
Right.
which you do. You had an order, you move out the order, and you're accused of doing something to violate the order. That's the corpus delicti.
Okay.
So it's here, it exists. The elements
Okay,
of the
so-
statute can exist.
Is there a living victim that is willing to file a charge against this?
Yeah, Ted Nick called the sheriff.
No, I called the sheriff.
Well, okay. Ted Nick talked to the sheriff and said, yes, we want to pursue this. So yes, they want to pursue the matter. At least at the time the report was written. I don't know what the status is.
Okay.
So yeah, they wanted to pursue the matter. I think for the reasons you suspect, they're trying to get it kicked out of the place. But yes, they were willing at that time to pursue the matter for, I think, shitty reasons, but that's part satisfied.
Sure. Okay. I think that there would. I guess this is my layman view of it, though. There should have to have been an intent for the violation of that restraining order to be violated. It wasn't with the intention of him to push his will on anybody. He was saying, "Hey, my private property is still in your property. I have a place for it to go to. Can you give me a moment to?"
I'm partly with you on that. There is a mental element of the crime, knowing about the order and doing something to violate the order. That's a factual defense. You're saying I was talking to the deputy in the past told me to stop this. I didn't try to violate the order. I didn't mean to violate the order.
Right.
We're on the same page there, but that's a factual question within the scope of did you violate the law?
Okay.
And then I even, on the 911 call, or the call to the sheriff, they stated the merit for me to stay where I was at.
All right,
In
so-
the
so
call-
it
Yeah,
was-
that one, don't read too much of that. Don't run off and find is what they're saying. So they can arrest you. That's all that.
You know, that was before they even knew that they were going on. They were pushing on the phone when I called them and told them what was going on. They didn't know that I had a violation. They
Stay
said,
where you're at so they can find you in case you're hurt or something. You're reading that a bit too
Yeah.
broadly. They want you to stay someplace where they can find you in case you need to be rescued, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, you could have been there bleeding or something.
So that was a suggestion. That was a
Yeah.
suggestion from them to him.
but the sheriffs, they did tell me that was where my line was at.
I agree, yeah, right. I think you're right about that, and that's
Right.
part of
So
the
I mean,
defense.
because my view, an egregious offense of that restraining order would have going up there, knocking on the door, and saying, "Hey, I want my blankety blank." Right.
Much easier. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it didn't happen. This is
Right,
You
and-
tried to
and-
do the right thing. I'm with you on this. Yeah, that's
Before that,
correct.
there was a lot of months before I never violated it, never had it, even a call about me, nothing.
Right, and I'm with you on that. You've got a question, an actual question. Did you really violate the order because you stopped? The deputy said it was okay to stop. I'm with you guys on that. That's a defense, but I mean, it's to say that there wasn't a crime or something. No, there was potentially a crime. Our question is, do the state have the facts to prove you committed a crime? And that's why the defense comes in. Yeah, I'm challenging whether I intend to commit a crime because I stopped what the deputy told me. That's why I'm not guilty. I think that's a question the judge or jury in our case would have to resolve.
Right.
Did you violate the order? So the corpus
And-
delicti is, are
and-
there facts that support the crime? Yes, but did you act, are you guilty of it? That's a different question.
Okay.
So we're working the same direction, I think. But,
Right.
uh,
See, I guess if I could have your card, I could send you copies of like what I was talking about with
I appreciate it.
the
You
Supreme
might-
the Supreme Court decisions that encircle jurisdiction and also those rights to travel.
Sure.
I could present that to
Yeah,
you,
go ahead and
and
mention
I thank you for being open to this because
Yeah.
I recognize that we have been doing things in a long time a certain way,
Yeah.
but maybe it could be manipulated a little bit so that even those that are deeply knowledgeable and within the system, if we don't see it from an outside perspective and from a place of actual jurisdiction, where do the human rights end to not be bothered by government laws, regulations, and everything else, and where are human rights being honored? And and that's I would love to present that information to
Yeah,
you.
I'd
And thank
happy to
you.
look at it, 'cause I take an experience, we're not gonna get much farther with that, but I'll look at it, maybe the light will come on, and something will present itself.
Right.
My projection here, my prediction, is probably not gonna get us too far. Now, leaving that all aside for a second, the logistics of this, if I'm gonna look at that and the stuff you brought me, I need time to do that, I don't have free time, so at the next hearing, what I'm gonna ask you to do is to give me more time by doing a speedy trial, and give the court longer than January 22nd to hold on to the case. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on the Christmas holidays, to be honest with you guys, looking at that stuff. And if we're walking back into the courtroom at the next hearing, the basic answer of the judge is gonna be, all right, guys, set a trial date or do something to get us more time to hang on to the
Right.
case.
And a jury trial is different than a trial by jury, right?
I don't think I understand.
Okay, so a trial by jury, the jury actually defines or determines the outcome, whereas a jury trial, the judge still determines the outcome.
No. The judge will instruct the jury. A jury's gonna decide whether the facts have been proven to support the crime. So the judge will tell the jury,
Or if it should be nullified because of the extenuating circumstances.
not
So,
something we can argue, but yes, that's in the back of their minds. This is one of those things that just shouldn't be a crime. That's, yeah. I can't argue that to the jury, but that's
I understand.
in the back of their mind.
see but that's one of the things. Most of these jurors that are introduced into the judgment are ignorant people.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah,
They have answered a summons, and they've
been brought up and indoctrinated. And like,
exactly.
I'm with you.
And they don't even know about nullification. They don't know that they have that right to be able to say, you know what? Yes, technically he broke that law, but
it
was
shouldn't be
there
a law, therefore,
intention of harm? Was there an intention of intimidating them or anything like that? And I don't think that's present.
Best I can do is paint the picture so they see how silly it is.
Right.
And that's why I want to see the eviction documents, because I think you're right. Here's this guy trying to get rid of you because he's pissed off at you for whatever he's pissed off at you about, and failed and failed and failed.
I've met the guy a few times, and he's just a hot-headed drunk guy.
Okay. So maybe get that in the mix also. But again, what we can establish, I'm hoping through documents, which is hard to refute, is that he's failed and he's failed and failed again. So he changed the rules of the game to say, hey, if I can get a protection order against you, all I gotta do is call the sheriff. They take you away.
Right.
And
Now we
they
can't
can
lose.
listen to those recordings and it says, he says it in there.
What I
He
want to
says
see the
everything.
documents, I want to be able to hand the documents, case dismissed or finding for respondent.
So I need to go up here and get,
Yeah, do a FOIA request, get all
Yeah,
of
and
the
they'll have
information.
kind of a kiosk like we have right over here, except in the court's office.
Okay.
And if you enter your case number, you can basically get access to all the documents there, and then say, print this one, and they'll charge you something for each page they print. It's probably going to be expensive, but that's how you get those documents, if you can't find the ones you actually have.
Okay.
And the stuff you sent me by email is really out of format, so it's not all that helpful. The actual documents, and if, let's assume we're going to trial and hand me
you
documents.
didn't even get barely any of them. They won't send over the email, so I need to put them all on a flash drive for you or something.
Yeah, try that again, and that might give much better format. But yeah, start with the eviction paperwork. The police reports right now might get us somewhere. In my mind, at least at this point, the pattern of failing trying to get rid of you is established with the eviction paperwork.
But
And
that's all
then-
he ever talks about within all these cops is about how he's failing and this is happening. And
Right,
it's
unless it's the
saying it
documents.
himself, yeah.
Let's get the documents and then see what they show us. And correct, maybe we need to get the recordings because if he's gonna get what the sound
Oh, I gave them all to you. You have them all.
The actual recordings of the hearings.
Oh, no, not
Yeah, that's what I think about. If he's in the hearing under oath saying, I'm trying to get rid of my guy because of whatever, I mean, whatever he's saying, that he really can't argue that, it wasn't me because you took an oath, promised to tell the truth. That's true.
But he's on video saying it. You can't say that he didn't.
Right, but we're getting ahead of something. Let me start with the easy stuff. The pieces of paper are easy to present. If we think we're going to need the recordings, I can get those. But let me see the documents first. Anyway, the theory would be, here's this guy trying to get rid of this poor fella here who's living in a camp trailer, working on his home, doing nice things for him because he's married to his mother, and for whatever reason he's pissed off. We say that aside for a second. And we can't rid him. He changed the rules of the game because he's got a protection order. All you do is call the sheriff and say, hey, this guy violated the order, and off to jail you go. He wins and gets you off the property. You can't come back. That might be enough for people to say, that just doesn't seem fair. That seems like bullshit. And maybe that's how you set the nullification argument up. You can't say, and find him not guilty because Ted's a dick. That's not going to work. And then we have also the actual.
Have you seen the movie Idiocracy?
Oh yeah.
Okay, you'll see. Maybe in another 300 years, you'll just be able to fight it on that
Right.
defense.
Right.
He's a dick, dude.
Yeah. Out of work a lot of times, and that is in a lot of subtext. That is part of the defense in a lot of cases. The officer's an asshole. The victim's an asshole. He had it coming to him, kind of thing. Sure. Better to structure your defense around other things than that. Like our case here, I didn't think I violated the I stopped when the deputy had told me to stop before. Right. That's pretty good. Now.
And I mean, it's a long driveway. I mean, I'm familiar with the residents.
Wasn't
I
even
mean,
on that.
And Chris, here's the problem, and I don't have an answer off the top of my head, and this is problematic. Is it 1,000 feet from the door or 1,000 feet from the edge of his property? And I'm not sure off the top of my head what it is. I'll do some research and see if that's a question that's ever been answered, rather than just in the courtroom with the judge saying something.
And with that, what the cops even said in the reports is they were going off of different maps even that showed different distances.
Yeah, you have little in their car, the spilling system, and they can, based like Google Maps,
Right.
click one point, draw to the point, see how many feet it is, or how many miles it
The
is.
sheriffs didn't even know. They were all doing different stuff.
But they don't have to know. They just have to present evidence to a prosecutor. This sounds like it could be a crime, probable cause. Then they file it. And that's different than proving it. That's enough to get a charge filed. This sounds like it could be a crime. All right, we're going to go forward with this and then see if I can prove to a jury or else make them not.
And if you can, get the recordings of that one sheriff that took me into the booking.
I requested those.
Because that will show some stuff right there. Because I was asking him all these same questions, and I was doing a better job of explaining myself and about him. He even called Ted and asked him about if he knew about the property being on the other person.
The question there, as you mentioned, did he turn the radio off at some point? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Find out. But when we were inside the booking, there's got to be one that they don't shut off down
They
there.
have cameras there. I think they have recorders there. They have cameras. The idea is they're watching for violence. They want to be able to see if the person with the patrol sees a guy fighting and they can send help. They don't necessarily need to hear that words that are said. So I don't think there's sound there, but I'll ask.
But then the guy that's behind the desk, we could.
If he remembers it.
I bet you he does because he knows that he.
Well,
yeah, I don't know.
he might remember it because he conveniently forget it. This thing I wrote right now.
Well, Hillary taught us. I don't remember. I don't recall.
Right.
I don't
That's-
remember. I don't recall. Keeps me out of a lot of trouble.
That in blue line,
Yeah.
uniform, yeah. I'm not sure. I don't have any recollection of that. So don't expect too much violence there. We gotta have things that we know we can't refute. And
So solid facts can paint a picture.
so start with the documents about the eviction. That's a good starting point because we can make it cut out to be a person who keeps losing, he's tired of losing, so he changes the game. Right.
Straight up
Yeah,
lying.
he still may not win for it, but it's a whole different story than just a guy that's showing up to the property and told not to be there. Sure. The backstory as to why it's happening.
Right.
Now, guys, we're getting ahead of ourselves. I might think this we're going to be forced to answer for ourselves in the courtroom. So let's prepare for that because ultimately we're going to have to do it at some point, I suspect, or take some kind of a deal. Like two different questions. Send me the information you had. I don't think it's going to solve the problem for us, but I'll look at it and it can't hurt us to look.
Well, I guess, and that's where okay, like when a citizen is it's a belonging to another entity, right? A citizen of the United States of America is a product of that. That's why it's
Okay, I
right.
kind of think you see. Okay, but
A person is also something like Walmart is a person legally.
No, it's an entity, but a corporation is treated legally like a person in terms of if a person.
Exactly.
If a
But see,
person wants to do
that's
something
where a person,
more.
like, if you're claiming that you're the person, you are claiming to be the corporate entity operating in commerce. If you are the
That I know
people,
something.
the we the people, that's why it's not we the persons,
Okay.
it's we the people. And we the people are you and I operating outside of any, as long as you and we're all hanging out at the park, right? We're all voluntarily here of our free will.
Okay.
We are operating as people. Now, if you said, I don't like what you said, and you punched me in the nose.
Okay.
Okay, now I can hold you accountable for your aggression against me,
Sure.
right?
Okay.
Because you have created harm or loss.
Sure.
You've created a victim and a crime. Okay, and that's because you're not being I'm sorry, yeah, you're not being self-responsible for your actions, and so something else has to be responsible for you, and then that's the envelope, the citizen, person, or resident that is you're saying, hey, yep, I'm not responsible for myself, and that's like the gateway to the state being responsible for you. However, if there isn't a victim being created, and I am willing to be a self-responsible person, I don't need or want anybody to do anything for me. You don't need to represent me. I am capable of being me, the living man.
Okay.
That should be without regulation unless I create harm or loss. And that's the separation of church and state. I'm a church member. I'm a free will. It sounds funny, but I'm a free willian.
Okay.
But free will underscore AAH is the ministry that I'm recognized by the IRS.
Okay.
And I operate the ministry on my private property and out of my private capacity.
Okay.
So you can either be separation of church and state, you can be a church member. And this is where, like, this part I don't agree with. But those popes and the reverends that are harming children, and then the private church entity is going to take care of the repercussions to their action, and the state steps away because it's a private entity.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. I disagree with yourself.
Okay, so that shows us right there that there's a separation of private versus public. Public is the person, private is the person, or the people. And when the people enter public, they become the person, citizen, or resident under the regulations of that state, federal agencies, and everything else, even when you haven't harmed somebody, because you've entered into a domain of created, not of the creator. You know, like you and I, if you and I were the first people on this planet, and we invented government and from our offspring, we've invented government. It's to serve us, right?
Okay.
So that which serves us serves the creator, can't rule over the creator. There's just a natural procession of free will is the first law. The theft of consent is the first violation of the first law. All other laws are formed off of that. That's the foundation. The very foundation is free will. You own you, and I own me, and he owns him, unless we prove ourselves to be not responsible for our actions. And that's when a crime has been committed, and we are entered into that royal admiralty, or the common laws of the land. The royal admiralty, if you're the citizen, person, resident. The common law, if you're the people that has created a victim to somebody else.
Send me your information. I think
I know it's a lot to digest.
I'm getting
I mean,
tired,
I've done
actually,
years of this study, and it took me a long time to really wrap my head around it. But once you get it, you're like, that's where by the consent of the governed comes in. Is if you haven't harmed anybody. Yep.
send me stuff by email.
Of course,
Take a look at it.
yeah.
Next Tuesday, basement of the jail. Again, if we're going to look at this stuff, we need time to do so. So we'll do speedy trial waiver.
Yeah, I don't mean no disrespect, no nothing.
Yeah, I know.
He's trying to stand within his human rights, and it is hard to articulate in the system.
On this, and I had not done anything. I can understand if I did something wrong.
I hear
I tried to, but I didn't, and I'm paying dearly for it. So it's,
all right, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. I think he's open to hearing what we got to say.
yeah,
I mean,
he's been the nicest one so far.
Yeah.
I think maybe go up to the third floor and replace that stuff. All these figures are asking for.
Right.
I burned them all. The ones that I had to restack them. But I didn't sign it. The lady was trying to get me to sign something over there, and I wouldn't sign it. And the judge told her something, because at first she said, you have to.
Right.
And I just stood there and looked at it.
Right.
And they gave it to me to let me sign it.
Yeah. These are public documents. Yeah, I don't have to sign anything to request them. I just, I requested it. You guys are public servants.
I'm talking about what I just got in there. They tried to get me to sign this thing.
Oh,
They said about the hearing,
Right.
and I would never sign it.
Right.
So I didn't find it, and I never even answered my name in there, I didn't answer
Right.
shit, when I went up there, he was even,
So I missed the first part. All right, so like
I
what?
didn't say anything,
So they do like a roll call.
And I
They
didn't-
said your name.
and I didn't say nothing.
Okay, so and when after you had left and everybody else had gone through, and I think I might have that on video or on audio, but it's really hard to hear anything on there.
Mhm.
The judge says, "Oh, it looks like we have some no-shows. There's a failure to appears."
But the thing is when you're in there, since I have a lawyer, he's supposed to speak for me, I'm not supposed to speak, so I shouldn't even be the one that's saying I'm there or not, he should be doing it for me.
Right. Right.
I'm gonna sit there. Going out and reading before, but when he looked at that, that everything, and he ended up coming up to like Oprah or something,
Right.
and he was trying though, but then he wasn't even on.